Hello there and welcome to Preparing for a Phone or Video Interview with me, Stephen James from TCHC. Well, things have certainly changed recently, and with the onset of COVID-19, traditional face-to-face interviews are no longer happening. So we're going to take you through some of the things that will help you doing things in this different way. So on this course, what we're going to do is look at interviews with Zoom or telephones, how to prepare for the interview, different types of interview and their formats, the STAR technique, employer interview questions, your interview questions. So we'll go through the whole set of things that I think you need to know. Interviews are a crucial part of the recruitment process for most organisations. Nothing's going to change there. Their purpose is to give the employer a chance to assess you, to have a look at you, to see if they believe you're the right person for that job. And crucially, it's your opportunity to do the same thing. Try to decide, are these the sort of people I want to work for? And if they're not, as before, with the traditional interview, preparation is the most important thing. If you prepare well, it'll help you keep your nerves under control. Now, try and find out the length of time of the interview. Very importantly, is it going to be on the phone? Is it Zoom? Is it Teams? Or are they using some other software? Once you've found that out, I suggest you try out a video call with some friends or family using the exact same software as you'll be using at the interview. I did just that myself before I started running training courses using Zoom. Ask the people if you need to prepare anything beforehand. That again will help you settle your nerves and take away the need to worry about things. Try and find out who will be interviewing you. It's important to remember their name. If they're going to be other people, make a note of their names and keep it handy. Again, just like you would do if you were going to go and see them for real. And crucially, do your preparation several days ahead. Never do it at the last minute. Now, it may be you've not used a video call. Don't worry, you'll soon get the hang of it. Some software needs installing on your computer before it's used for the first time. So again, that's why it's crucial to find out and get that done. You'll get all that sorted out when you try your Zoom call with your friend. Are you going to have to borrow a laptop? If you are, do it well in advance so you get the hang of it, so you know how to use it, particularly if it's the sort of thing you're not used to using. Have you got broadband at home? If you have, it's going to be fairly straightforward. If not, what are you going to do about it? If you've got a smartphone, you could probably use the hotspot facility on it. Find out how to do that if you've not done it before and test it. If it hasn't got enough strength of signal, you maybe have to go round to a friend's house or member of the family and use their broadband. Always try it out first. Make sure the microphone and the speakers working. Make sure the camera's working. On a laptop, these sort of things tend to come as standard, but they don't always. If you've got a more traditional desktop computer, it quite possibly won't have those things. So you're going to have to find out what to do about it. And make sure, again, you do that well in advance. The day before is not the time to realise there's no camera. If you're going to use your phone, make sure it's fully charged. I know it sounds obvious, but believe me, not everybody does. Make sure if it's got enough credit, if that's an issue. And if you're on a contract, again, make sure you're not up to your limit on your airtime. If you can use Wi-Fi, all the better. Now, you're preparing for the interview. Normal rules apply. It's just an interview. The medium's very different, but do all those things that you'll have heard before on the courses, you've had people like me telling you about, and frankly, that you know are the right thing to do to prepare for your interview. Yes, it sounds daft. Try and get a good night's sleep. If you're tired, you're not going to come over as well as you should be. Always research the company. Remember, you've got things like Google, But look at social media, LinkedIn, have a look at software like that and see what they're saying about themselves. The more you know, the better it will be. And you might just get lucky. Something might come up in interview that you know about, that there'll be answer to a question. Now, one of the things I would do is email a company before the actual interview itself, well before the interview. Find out as much as you can about the format for the day. How many people will be interviewing them? What are their names? In fact, most companies will like the fact that you've taken the trouble to do this. They will see that as a sign that you like to get things prepared when something's very important. And they're going to assume you would do that when it's something important at work as well. So already they're seeing you in a very positive way. Now, if you're going to be on the phone, stand up. You will talk more positively, you will come across better if you're standing up than sitting down and slouching in a chair. Just don't do it. Stand up when you're on the phone. And even on the phone, I would get dressed. I put my full interview gear on. I would clean my shoes. I would do everything that I would normally have done. And you will feel ready. Mentally, you'll feel ready. And you know, that will come across in the way you talk to people. Now, while we're talking about preparation, there's a few extra things that, again, I'm sure you've heard before, but don't forget to do them. Know your CV. Have a little read through it. You may well have several different CVs. I know I certainly do. Different ones for different types of jobs I might be interested in. Which one did you send them? Have a careful look at it. Make sure you're familiar with all the things in it. After all, they're going to ask you about it. It's all they know about you at the moment. They're bound to ask you some of the things that you've written in there. You must be able to reply confidently when they ask you some questions. And if you've had a little read of it, that's going to help you, isn't it? Know about the job role you've applied for. Again, I work with people who say, well, look, I applied for lots and lots of different jobs. So again, make sure you know exactly what it is you've applied. Now let's move on to what sort of things you should have available. Normally, of course, we say take with you in your briefcase, but in this case, it's to have at hand around you. Clear some space on your desk, on the table that you're going to be working on, and make sure that you can find all of these things. If you've been sent a letter, or more likely an email, have it printed out, have it handy. There'll be details in there you might need. I would always have my CV handy, and again, printed out, not available on my machine to go and look at, have it there in front of you. Same applies to the job specification, the advert that they gave you, anything you've used when you were completing the application forms. Have those questions available. You're going to see them soon, or my suggestions at least, and there will be plenty more opportunities for you to add your own as well. I like to have a pen and paper. I might need to write something down. Something might crop up. I might have an idea as well. I need to make a note of that. Again, we've talked about researching the company on their social media, on their website, on Google. I like to have things like that available so I can see it. Now, in the letter that you've been given, if they've asked you to give proof of address, passport, driving license, any certificates, have all of those handy so you can put them up in front of the camera and at least they can see them. Look out for anything else they've actually asked you to have. That'll be in the interview letter. Have that one last careful read, just in case there was something there that you didn't think of or didn't see the first time round. So get everything prepared. And I think that way you should be absolutely fine. The STAR technique for answering questions. Now, when we're on the courses that we run, we spend a lot of time doing this, and it's one of my favourite parts of the whole course. This is where you're asked the sort of question where the answer is a little story, an anecdote, something that's happened. And it's very important that you frame that story, that answer, in this way. And that way, you'll tell a nice, neat, concise story. You'll get to the point nice and quickly, and we can move on. If you don't use this technique, there's a great danger that you'll end up rambling on, disappearing down a rabbit hole and not quite sure where to go with your story. So the classic question, tell me about a difficult situation and how did you handle it? Tell me what you're proud of at work. Tell me about when you had a difficult customer to deal with. You know, the sort of thing. The answer is an anecdote. The answer is a short story. And this will help you frame it. So my advice is think of one of those stories. You can actually adapt the way you tell the story to fit all sorts of different questions. And you only probably need about 3 or 4 little anecdotes, which if you carefully adapt them, will answer just about anything you're likely to be asked. Remember, when you're telling one of these, when you get to results of your actions, it's always got to be a happy ending. I know it's got to be a happy ending. It must always be somewhere or other you saved the day, you rescued things, you achieved things. Because of your work, something happened. Remember, even if they've asked you about something that went wrong, it's got to be a happy ending to it. Now let's have a look at how you manage yourself while you're on the interview. Know the interviewer's names. We've talked about this before. Write them down so that you can talk to people using their name. Always comes across well. Being nervous. Well, to be honest, you should be nervous at a job interview. This is really important. And indeed, when I used to interview people, if you'd come in and you weren't a bit nervous, I'd be a bit concerned. You'd wonder if this was important to you or not. Everyone gets a little nervous. It's fine. Don't worry about it. So there are some things you can do. The classic, breathe deeply a few times before you start. It works. I've been doing it today, believe me. Smile when you're on the video. Smile when you're on the phone. It works. It comes across much more naturally. It'll help you feel confident. Be enthusiastic. Be energetic. Be you. That's what people want. Now, a few technical things. Have a look behind you. What's coming out on the camera? In my case, I'm in a little office. I've got a rugby shirt. Don't think that's going to offend too many people. That should be fine. Make sure that the light is in front of you and absolutely not behind you. When we're running courses, we have a number of people sit with their back to a window and I can't see them. So we have to ask them to move around or draw the curtains. Make sure you're not that person. What you need to do is all of these things, and hopefully what we'll get is you on a good day. In fact, better than that, you on a very good day. That's what we're looking for. Now, what questions are you likely to be asked at an interview? When we're running our courses, this is the one everyone seems to want to know. Short answer is, I don't know what they're going to ask you, nor does anyone else. However, what we can do is have a look at the sort of things that you might get asked, and more importantly, prepare yourself with some answers for those things. These are some suggestions. What I suggest you do is talk to some friends, talk to family, talk to anyone that's recently had a job interview. Ask them what were they asked, and then that will help you to get ready for this when it's your turn. The one I probably like least of all, tell me about yourself. And you think, really? Well, talk to you about yourself in the context of a job. So if I'm going for a job as a tutor, I want to know about what I like about being a tutor, what gives me the enjoyment, what gives me the pleasure in the job. Not tell me about yourself, oh, I love doing the gardening when I'm at home. It's not relevant. Strengths and weaknesses. It's no good saying you haven't got any weaknesses. Of course you have, but try and turn them into a strength. And what I've done there in the past is when people have asked me about a weakness, I try and say, well, I used to be not very good at this. However, I've tried really hard and I'm much better at it now. So I've turned a weakness into a strength. and I've batted that question straight back at them. And that's a great little thing to be able to do if you can do that, as opposed to, well, I'm absolutely hopeless at this. That's never the answer. So have a little think about it. There's lots of questions like this you can find on Google if you want to do some research, but these will just give you an idea. And I really do think it's important to see if you can find some friends who've also been for an interview most recently. Now, this has come up earlier in some of the slides, having a list of questions that you will ask at that point at the end of an interview. So have you got anything you'd like to ask us? It's important to have these prepared. More often than not, they've answered all the questions, and we've already spoken about how to handle that situation. However, these might just be important to you. And what I suggest you do is put your own questions in as well. We all know, please don't ask them, how much do I get paid? How many holidays do I get? As I heard one person say, how many sick days do I get each year? Just please don't. Now, these questions are all designed to assume you already have the job. So, is there progression? Can I grow my skills? Are there opportunities for training? All these are assuming you're there, and more to the point, you want to make more of a contribution to the company while you're there. I think it's quite reasonable to say, when can I expect to hear from you? Notice we said, if I'm successful, not when will I hear from you. If I'm successful, you're assuming you are. You're showing a quiet self-confidence. And I think that's very important. That will help give them a good impression of you. Right, we're at that time. The interview's just about finished, much like this presentation. And what do? Well, thank them for their time, thank them for speaking to you. And I think that's always a very important thing. They should probably return the compliment by thanking you. Ask them when you can expect to hear from them. It may have come up already. Hopefully it has, but if not, I think that's quite reasonable. And they'll say, oh, well, we're interviewing a lot of people and we'll let everyone know by Friday. You should ask that question. I think that's quite reasonable. When it's actually finished, you might want to send them an email thanking them, confirming that you're still interested, and just it gets your name in front of them again. So yeah, why not? Give it a try. You've got nothing to lose. If they're going to give you the job, they still will. If they weren't, you haven't made it any worse. If it turns out you've not been successful and you get that dreaded email, I think it's quite reasonable to ask them for some feedback, constructive criticism. And if they take the trouble to do that, that in itself is a positive sign. And actually, no one likes being criticised. But it may, oh, well, you slightly lack the skills, another candidate had more skills. They may actually give you something even a little bit better than that. We felt that maybe you didn't come over quite so well as as we'd like you to. Those sorts of things. It can help you with the next one. And there we go. Finish this little presentation. So on behalf of myself, Stephen James, and all of the team at TCHC, I'd like to say thank you very, very much for listening. And I hope that you found this useful. And I really, really would like to wish you all the best of luck in your search for a new start. Thank you very, very much and good luck.